I am filming this just before I take my break. And I can tell I'm ready to just have a break from filming 2 or 3 recipes every day because I completely forgot to put my microphone on, which meant it didn't record any sound at all. So I now have to talk you through what I've got in here. Oh, tonight's dinner is spiced carrot puree with pork fillet and a pan sauce. I'm starting my puree earlier in the day so that I can just reheat it later because it just makes my life easier. In a pan, I've got about 500 grams of carrots. You can see they're chopped reasonably small, not teeny tiny, but smallish. And in that pan, so that's about 500 grams of carrot, I've put about 60 ml of water. I've put 60 grams of butter, a teaspoon of cumin, a pinch of chili powder. I actually used Kashmiri chili powder and a little sprinkling of salt. It doesn't need too much salt because there is salt in the butter and we can season it again later. I'm going to heat that on a low heat. Once the butter is melting and the water is bubbling, I'm going to put a lid on it, keep it on that low heat for about 20 to probably 25 minutes until the carrots are really, really soft, well sweated. This smells incredible, buttery, cuminy gorgeousness. Now I don't have one of those sort of old-fashioned style blenders anymore, but I do have something that's similar to a NutriBullet. And I do find when blending, I actually might do this a little bit at a time. And I also prefer to do it when it's cooled down a bit, which is why I like to make it ahead of time, because I find if I try and blend when it's too hot, it's really hard to take the lid off. When you take the lid off, you get covered in food. So I'm just going to blend a little bit at a time, but I am going to leave that to cool. So I'll just turn that off, sorry. I'm watching Vanderpump Villa. I've never watched any Vanderpump stuff before. And it's kind of going to be a guilty pleasure now. So I was impatient. Oh, you see, this is why you don't do it when it's hot. I can't get the lid off. I'm going to try and get the lid off. I need to put a tea towel over the top so I don't get covered in it. Bear with me. You see, I was impatient. That was an absolute mission. I had to put a tea towel over the top. I had to use an enormous amount of energy to get it off. Okay, so you can see I've blitzed. That's just the first half. I've got some more to do. You can use this straight away. It's pretty smooth, but I'll just show you if you want a restaurant finish, like really super silky smooth. I'll scrape this out in a minute, but I just want to demonstrate to you. Into a clean saucepan, which is what we'll reheat it in, you just run it through a fine sieve, and what you end up with is just the most unbelievable silky what's it called? Puree. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. I'm going to scrape this out. I'm going to let that cool a bit, blitz all of that up, and then we'll be ready to go on with the next bit. And then you can set it aside and reheat it when you're ready to cook. The next thing you can make ahead of time, I don't think I mentioned it before, is I'm going to just put a little crumb on top of the pork when it's cooked. You want some panko breadcrumbs. The herbs that I've got some fresh parsley, always just the leaves picked, some thyme, and then I've got some fresh oregano. I don't expect everybody to have that or get hold of it. It is optional. You want to finely chop all of these and gently melt the butter in a pan. It's funny, if you get to this part of the film, and I'm just now talking to the camera, one of the hardest things that I've found doing these films is giving measurements, because I have always been a throw it in the pan person. Obviously, it's different with baking, and probably that's why I don't enjoy baking. It has to be too precise. I mean, when I did the supper club, I had to produce amazing desserts, and I did it. And I did love it, and I was thrilled with the results, but I don't particularly like eating sweet things, so this is my food. Make sure you really finely chop the herbs. Just to give you a measurement then, as I've promised, the butter is about 15 grams of butter or a tablespoon. And I'm looking at this. The herbs are about a tablespoon and a half. Melt the butter, get it to just gently bubbling but not browning. Butter is bubbling. You may be able to hear it. I'm going to put in a handful. So that's probably, I don't know, 3 tablespoons and a bit more. The nice thing with this, maybe a little bit more, is this crumb will, you can use it on other things. You can sprinkle it on pasta. I'm just going to put that back on the heat. Watch it like a hawk. Put in the herbs. Actually, no, don't put in the herbs. I just remembered. Just let these toast a little bit. I'm going to give it a stir. This has been on for about a minute. All of the breadcrumbs are coated in butter. I'm now going to add the herbs and give it a stir, and then watch it like a hawk. And as soon as it starts to toast, take it off the heat. It's just starting to get toasted edges. The pan will retain the heat, so I'm just going to leave it to one side, away from the heat, to cool until I need it. Maybe when it first comes off the heat, stir it every so often. It's going to be perfect. I know it's probably too much information, but I don't know any other way to teach you than to show you everything that I'm experiencing. I feel that this is not going to be a quick film. I'm now getting ready for the last part of the cook, which is simply to cook the pork. You want to preheat the oven to 220 degrees. I have cut the pork fillet in half. I am going to season it generously with salt on both sides, and I'm going to leave it for 15 minutes before I cook it. The other ingredients that we're going to need is, you can, before it goes in the oven, we sprinkle on a spice mix or a marinade mix, whatever you've got. I've got my New Mexico spice rub, which has got coriander, cumin, chili, and I will be spreading that on. I am also, before I cook the pork, going to cover it with schmaltz. You can use any, which is chicken fat. You could use duck fat, you could use vegetable oil, but the oil would go on the meat, not in the pan. For the pan sauce, I've got some red wine, some chicken stock, and I've got cold butter in the fridge. I did get pulled up on the fact that the last time I coated some steak with my schmaltz, I double dipped, and I put my hands up to that because I don't want to contaminate. So I have put some schmaltz in a little bowl, and I am just going to coat the pork all over before I pan fry it. And schmaltz, if you haven't watched any of my other films, I urge you to go and look for it, is chicken fat that I drain off when I roast a chicken, and I keep it all and I use it for cooking. Ready to go. Heat the pan. As I've said before, don't put pepper on anything that you're going to cook on a high heat because it will burn. Pan is smoking hot. Pork is going in. I'm going to brown it on all sides. You can see how nicely brown it is. And this is where I'm going to sprinkle my rub, whatever rub you've got. And I'm now going to put this in the oven for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is up. I just checked the internal temperature of my pork, and this one is 66 degrees. You want 63 degrees. The other one was 60 degrees. So I'm leaving it in the oven for a couple more minutes. This is important for me to share because you want your pork to be perfect. The pork is done. I'm going to cover it up with some foil, set it to one side, and we're going to start the pan sauce. Be careful because the pan is very hot. So I'm going to put it on quite a high light, and I'm going to splash in, that's probably half a cup, I don't know what that is in mil. I'm thinking of a glass of wine. It's half a glass of wine. on a high heat and use a wooden spoon to release all of the bits that are stuck on the bottom and reduce this at least by half. While the pork is resting, reheat your carrot puree on a low light. This is now reduced by at least half, and I'm going to put in about 100 ml of chicken stock. Use whatever stock you've got. I always have a batch of homemade chicken stock. That sounds a little bit pretentious, but sorry. Bubble it and reduce that again by half. Okay, meanwhile, you can cube about 50 to 100 grams. It depends what you're doing, but I have cubed up some cold butter. Now, it always has to be cold butter that goes into a pan sauce, and there is some science behind this, and I know the science. Cold butter will make it into a really silky emulsion, because because the butter fat melts slower when it's colder, and we'll do it off the heat. If you were to use kind of very warm melted butter, you would get a horrible greasy layer on it. So that's why you always put chilled butter into a sauce when you finish it off the heat. Just before the end of the bubbling time of the sauce, I am going to add the meat juices from the pork that is resting. You can see this now. That is all of that wine, all of that stock reduced. And I'm now going to put in these very cold bits of butter. I'm just going to do a few little pieces at a time. I'm going to get a whisk, because this is what makes the sauce. It's the emulsion. And I'm getting it all over my shirt. So you just have to take your time now. I'll just show you. I'm whisking, making a noise, and I'm whisking, and it is becoming a lovely silky sauce. It's not separating. I only put in as much butter as I needed. Oh, I'm going to taste it, because it is all about taste. Oh, I am going to put those last little 2 bits of butter in, because it can take it. It is absolutely delicious. Notice that I have not added any extra seasoning. I have poured the sauce into a jug, because it's a damn sight easier to serve it out of a jug. I'm going to show you plating up. I have cut each half into 3 pieces. In the restaurant, everything was always an odd number. So if I'm serving lumps of pork fillet, there'll be 3 of them. So start with a generous helping of the carrot puree. I'm keeping it really simple. And 3 pieces of the pork. And then lastly, we've got the lovely crumb, which will be generously sprinkled on top. And then finally, the sauce, which can be poured all the way around the outside. Gosh, I need to photograph that. I don't want to, I'll try and hold it up for you to see. And there we are. Pork fillet, herb crumb, and spiced carrot puree.